Hi there, welcome to Practical Piano. My name is Tia. I've been playing piano for 20 years and teaching for 10, and in this video I'm going to give you all the information you need for selecting your first beginner piano keyboard. First, I'll explain the features that you can get in an electronic keyboard, the ones that are very necessary that you can't do without, the ones that are of secondary importance so that you can do without them for the first 1 to 3 years of your practice, but you're going to start needing them around that time period. And then I'll share 3 features that keyboards often hype, but you don't really need them as a beginner pianist. After that, I'll answer the frequently asked questions that I often get from brand new pianists who are looking to buy their first keyboard. These are questions like, do I actually need an acoustic or a grand piano, or is it okay to buy a digital piano? Will it be okay to learn on? Do I need an 88 key full-size keyboard, or can I get a smaller one? How much money should I be looking to spend? And lastly, which brands should I look at? What are the good ones? By the end of this video, you'll have everything you need to know to buy a good quality piano that's within your needs and your budget. All right, let's get into it. First of all, what are the essentials? What features do you really need on your piano? The most important thing, in my opinion, is that you have standard-sized keys. If you get a piano with miniature or jumbo keys, you're going to train your hand to play in a really tight position if they're miniature and a really spread out position if they're jumbo. And then all the songs that you've learned along the way, you won't be able to transfer onto standard pianos. Now, luckily, this isn't a big deal because, especially if you're looking at the brands that I list, or if you're looking at an acoustic or a grand, most pianos are built with standard size keys. When you train on standard size keys, you'll be able to translate all of the music that you learned from one keyboard to the next. The next essential is a power source, and I know this might seem like common sense, but I'm mentioning it because when I was looking on Amazon for what different beginner keyboards were available on the market, I realized that some makes and models weren't sold with the power cord included. As a customer, I would find that really inconvenient, and I wouldn't want you to order a piano and then get it home and then realize, oh, now I have to buy this whole separate attachment in order to get the piano to work. So when you purchase a piano, make sure the power cord is included. That way you don't have to deal with the hassle of finding and buying it separately. The third necessity is an ergonomic setup. You want to be comfortable while you're practicing piano, and you want to be able to hold good posture so that in the long run you don't run into various types of pain in your body. Now, if you want more on posture, I have a video linked up in the iCards, and I'll put it in the description as well, that will tell you about the different things you should look for when you're setting up your piano area to optimize your posture. The main thing you'll need to improve your posture when you first buy a piano is an adjustable bench and or piano stand. I'll link some examples down in the description below. Now, the last essential feature is not essential for everyone, but for some people it will be very essential. And those are the option to plug in headphones. If you have the ability to attach headphones to your piano, then you'll be able to play without bothering other people in your environment. This can be a benefit both for you as the pianist and for the other people in the environment. You'll feel more freedom to drill the really hard sections and play them over and over again if you know that that repetition isn't bothering anybody. And let's say everybody else is sleeping in this weekend, but you want to practice piano, you can plug in your headphones and not wake anybody up. But not every person lives with other people, and so this is not a necessity necessarily, but something that you want to consider when you're purchasing your piano. Does it have the option for headphones if I need it? So that's it for the bare essential features. Now we'll move on to features that are not necessary for a very beginner, but when you reach anywhere between 1 to 3 years of practice, then these features are going to come in very handy. The first of these features is Polyphonic touch. Polyphonic touch is so useful that I almost put it up in the necessary features. But honestly, you really don't need it as a bare beginner. And when I first began in piano, my keyboard did not have polyphonic touch. I still learned very well in my first 2 to 3 years. And it may have even made me a stronger pianist because I had to work extra hard to get the effect that I wanted, even though I actually couldn't hear that effect yet. So what is polyphonic touch? Polyphonic touch means that the notes will sound louder or quieter dependent on the pressure that you use to play them. Basically, what that means is if you play a key very gently and softly, it will make a quiet sound. And if you press the keys with more force, then it will make a loud sound. So this is very helpful right around 1 to 2 years where you start to develop your dynamics. But you can go even a little longer without it. As long as when you're focusing on playing dynamics, I'll link a video about those up in the iCards. What you'll do instead of listening for how loud or soft it is, because you won't be able to hear it without polyphonic touch, what you'll do is you'll focus on the pressure that you're applying in your fingers. So when you want to play softly, you press gently. When you want to play medium, you press firmly. And when you want to play loud, you press forcefully. Basically, when you're doing dynamics without polyphonic touch, you're focusing on the pressure in your fingertips. The third feature that isn't necessary but it's very useful 2 or 3 years into piano practice is having weighted keys. The heavier the keys are weighted, the more difficult they are to press. And that doesn't sound like a good feature, but it definitely is. Electronic pianos have come a long way in the last 10 years. And so most keyboards that you get will have some degree of weight in the keys, but some are still made without weight in the keys at all. The weighted keys will make your fingers stronger in the long run, which will benefit your playing. It'll develop your hand strength and dexterity and help you play more and more difficult things as you progress in piano. Unweighted keys are particularly useful for children under 7 years old because their fingers are still not very strong, and even to press an unweighted key is fairly difficult. So you may want unweighted keys if your child is under 7 years old. But the more that they practice, the more you will need to eventually invest in weighted keys so that their hands can continue to strengthen. Once again, this is a feature that I did not have in my first piano, and I still learned very well for that 1 to 3 year period. To compensate for unweighted keys, I did a set of finger exercises that I would encourage you or your child to do if you're finding that it's difficult to press weighted keys down. I'll make a video with that exercise in the next week or 2, and then when it's made, I'll link that in the iCards and description of this video. But if you want to find that video, you can also subscribe to the channel and you'll see it pop up in your notifications in the next couple of weeks. These finger exercises are actually helpful whether your keys are weighted or not, because they will make your fingers stronger regardless. The fourth and last feature that is not necessary but useful as you advance in piano is having a damper pedal. Damper pedal is also called a sustain pedal. Now, I would recommend when you buy your first piano, look for one that has the option to add a sustain pedal attachment later on, so that you can buy it separately and plug it in. That way, when you need and want to incorporate the pedal, you won't have to go and buy a whole new keyboard. You can just plug in the pedal attachment. Now, you won't need a damper pedal right away, but you will need it roughly 1 to 2 years into your learning. What you can do when you don't have a damper pedal is place a sponge under your foot and simulate the actual muscle movement with your foot, even though you can't hear the effect. This way you can actually train your foot to develop the pedaling motion, and then when you get onto a piano that does have the pedal, you'll at least have somewhere to start with it. This is another feature that I didn't have on my first piano, and I used that sponge method for a while to teach my foot the muscle memory of how to pedal. Now, There is something of a benefit to starting on a keyboard that does not have all of these helpful but unnecessary features. My mother told me when I started piano that the keyboard that I had should match the level of my skill in piano, and it did. It will be good for you as a beginner, and especially if you're not sure that you even want to continue in piano. You're just trying it out. It will be good for you as a beginner to get a basic beginner's keyboard, because you don't need all of those extra things in order to learn. And not having those extra things will help you hone your skills in the meantime. When you increase your skills enough that you do need an upgraded keyboard, go and get that upgrade, because you've worked hard and you've earned it. Now, there are some features in beginner keyboards that I consider completely unnecessary. It doesn't mean that they are unnecessary, but from my experience as a teacher and with what I focus on, I don't recommend that my students particularly look for keyboards that have these options. It won't hurt if the keyboard has these options and they're fun to play around with. They're just not necessary. And there are 3 features. One is a built-in metronome. Now, metronomes, if you have the patience to train to use them, and if you have the ear for it, they can be very useful because they help you keep track of your rhythm. The reason that I would find a built-in metronome unnecessary is because on some keyboards you can turn the metronome on, but it doesn't tell you the speed that the metronome is playing, which is kind of important. Plus, if you really need a metronome, the Whitner metronome is a really good one, and it lasts for decades. I had a Whitner metronome from the time that I started piano, when I was about 5 years old, until I was 20. So that is over 15 years, and that metronome was still in beautiful shape. I just gave it away because I wanted a different color. I'll link some Whitner metronomes down in the description so you can see what I'm talking about. You can also buy digital metronomes and set them like that. You can download free metronome apps onto your phone and play the metronome on your phone, or you can search YouTube for metronome at this many beats per minute and pull up a metronome. Just set it to play and it'll start ticking for 10 minutes. So there are definitely better ways to get a metronome than having one built into your keyboard. The other 2 features that I wouldn't recommend are the demo feature. And this can be really fun to play around with because the piano will teach you how to play a song. But I don't recommend learning from demo features because I don't recommend that my students just memorize how a song goes. I want them to understand the notes that belong in it, and well, I teach people to read music, and so I find demo modes are a bit of a distraction from that. However, I don't discourage playing to them because 1, it's quite fun, and 2, any practice that you do get on the piano is beneficial for you. The 3rd reason I wouldn't discourage it is because people feel really good after they learn a fancy song, and demo mode songs are generally pretty fancy. So they can be really fun, but they're not a necessity as far as I'm concerned. The last feature that I would consider unimportant is the option to play other instrument sounds. This can be really fun to play around with, and it's probably useful if you're mixing music or if you're a DJ or something like that. But just to learn piano, classical piano, the way that I teach it, having other instrument sounds isn't very necessary. So it's not something that I encourage you to look for. But if you want to, and it's fun, cool. So now we'll move on to the frequently asked questions that beginner students will come to me with when they're looking to buy a new piano. First of all, do you need to get an acoustic or a grand piano, or is a digital piano okay? What are the pros and cons to either one? So the main pros to acoustics and grands is that they have excellent quality sound. They generally have very functioning pedals and their keys are heavily weighted. But some acoustics that you find that are very old or used will be out of tune, or they won't have very much weight in their keys. And if you have an out-of-tune, unweighted acoustic, I would say that acoustic is not as good as a digital piano. Now, the thing about acoustics and grands is that you can tune them. And so if the sound is bad, you can hire a tuner to come in and tune your piano. According to the Yamaha website, when you first get an acoustic piano, you should tune it twice in the first year and once every year after that. But that is an extra expense, so this ends up being a con of acoustics and grands. They require more maintenance than an electronic piano. So if you're going to get an acoustic or a grand piano, I would work into your budget to find and hire a local tuner to come in and tune your piano once a year. You'll also need a humidifier for your piano if you want to keep it for a long time in really good shape, because pianos are wooden instruments and wood will crack and break if it isn't kept properly humidified. The other con with acoustics and grands is that they're very heavy to move around. So even moving them from room to room is troublesome. But if you're going to move from city to city or even from house to house, you're going to need to hire special movers so that they don't damage the piano in the process. Now, the pros of electronic pianos is that they don't require that maintenance. If you break a key or something goes wrong in the circuit board, then you'll have to take it in to get fixed. But that doesn't happen very frequently with good electronic pianos. Electronic pianos are very affordable, and at least in the country that I'm living in, they're very easy to find and purchase. Electronic pianos are easy to move. They can be a little weighty sometimes, especially the higher end electronic pianos, but generally you're going to be able to carry an electronic piano either by yourself or with the help of a second person, and you're probably not going to get injured. The cons to electronic pianos is that sometimes they don't come with a pedal, or sometimes they don't come weighted, and sometimes they don't have polyphonic touch, whereas all acoustics and grands will automatically have polyphonic touch. Almost all of them will have pedals, and most of them will have keys that are weighted to one degree or another. With electronic pianos, the sound quality of the instrument is not as refined as with an acoustic or a grand, but it's pretty passable. And when you're first learning piano, it's really not a big deal to have a piano that sounds electronic. It's when you get up into your higher levels that now you'll be wanting a piano that has more authentic quality. So in my opinion, for most people, it's actually more beneficial to get an electronic piano rather than an acoustic or a grand. But if you have the opportunity to acquire an acoustic or a grand and it fits in well with your lifestyle, then definitely take that opportunity and get one, because they are very nice to play on. Another question I frequently get from students is, do I have to have a full 88 key piano, or is it okay if my piano's a little shorter? And yes, as a beginner, it is perfectly fine if your piano is shorter. In the first 1 to 3 years of playing piano, you're generally going to stay in a small range of keys anyways, so you don't need the full-size piano. If you plan to stick with piano for 5 to 10 years or even longer, then yes, invest in a full-size keyboard. How much money is reasonable to spend on your first beginner keyboard? If you're just beginning in piano, start with an affordable keyboard. Aim to spend under $500. You can actually find some really good starter keyboards on Amazon for around or under $300, and I'll leave links for my recommendations down in the description. While I haven't played on all of these models myself, I did spend several hours combing through the different starter pianos available on Amazon. So in my opinion, after looking at the specs and all the reviews, these are the best quality keyboards, the ones that I would recommend to my own students to buy. Full disclosure, if you do end up buying anything through the links in the description, as an Amazon affiliate, I'll earn a small commission off of your qualifying purchases. The final question that I get from new students is, which brands are good? What should I be looking at brand-wise to buy from? I would say Casio is your first pick for affordable, high-quality keyboards. When I was young, Yamaha was the go-to brand for affordable keyboards, and they had the best quality out of all the other brands. But from my research, it seems like Casio is definitely dominating the affordable keyboard market. Casio is the brand that you're going to find most of your $500 and under good quality keyboards in. Yamaha remains a good brand for piano keyboards, but I couldn't find very many Yamaha keyboard products on Amazon.ca or .com, so I haven't linked any of those in the description. You might be able to find them in your local music stores or even in electronics stores like Best Buy. And I believe Costco sometimes carries piano keyboards, but I'm not sure what brand Costco carries. So definitely do your research and look around at what's available in your area so that you can get the best quality keyboard for the best price. I'm pretty sure Casio is going to be the way to go though. Now the other two really good piano brands are Roland and Donner. But Roland and Donner are on the more expensive side. So I would recommend looking at those if you're actually looking to upgrade your beginner piano to a more advanced piano, or if you know you're going to be in piano for 5 to 10 years, then get a Roland or a Donner. Especially get a Donner, because from what I've read of the reviews of the pianos on Amazon.ca and .com, people really get a good customer experience with Donner. Donner customer service seems to be very high quality. They're prompt and they resolve their customers' issues easily. Roland and Donner both offer high quality pianos with very authentic touch, similar to the acoustic or a grand. The sound of their pianos is very authentic and reflective of acoustic and grand sound quality. I've left some links in the description for Roland and Donner as well, but I don't recommend those necessarily for very beginners. I recommend that you go for that lower, more affordable range of piano while you develop your skills. All right, that's all the information that I have for you that I hope will help you feel confident and well-informed as you go and purchase your first beginner piano. If you found this video useful, please like it. If you know anyone else who's looking for this information and they're going to make their first piano purchase, send this video on to them. This is the information that you want to know before you purchase that first keyboard. If you have any questions or you want to tell me how your practice is going, leave a comment, and if you would like more, subscribe.